Well, thank you so much for letting us be here today, and it's an honor and a privilege to be here. My real claim to fame is not only am I a car dealer in Weatherford, Texas, but I'm Phil King's car dealer. And Phil and I have kind of grown up together for 25 years, and if you know his family, he's got 6 kids, 9 grandkids. He's a great friend of a car dealer. So, but in all honesty, Phil, we're really proud of you. And thanks for all you do for our community, for the state of Texas, and for the United States of America. But I want to introduce our next speaker. He grew up in a military family, so he's traveled and lived around the world. He started selling cars, worked his way up, become a general manager of car dealerships, and he actually even ran a recreational vehicle manufacturing company. And he retired after 24 years and started his second career. And he is now an award-winning columnist and broadcaster. He writes a weekly column for the Fort Worth Star-Telegram, and he's done that for the past 14 years. He is a contributing writer to Business Week Online for 7 years, and he's one of only 4 radio winners of the coveted Gerald R. Loeb Award presented by the UCLA Anderson School of Business for outstanding broadcast journalism. He's got a website, www.inside Automotive, that is a significant source of, a respected source of significant daily worldwide news. And he also hosts a talk show that's top rated every Saturday from 8 to 1 called Wheels with Ed Wallace. And it's on 570 KLIF here in the Metroplex. And I want you to give a warm welcome to Mr. Ed Wallace, who's one of the most interesting men you'll ever meet. Ed?
You know, for a moment there, I was impressed with myself. I had not heard about ALEC until a couple months ago when I was asked if I might come here and say a few words while you all were meeting in Dallas. And I looked up your background, the legislation you passed. I was amazed how many of my friends who are good card-carrying Republicans, car dealers around the Metroplex, had never heard of ALEC either, or any of the legislation that had been passed and put in place. But as I looked through this and I looked at what y'all were headed towards, I'm seeing a different America than I think y'all are. I get up about 3 to 3:30 every morning. I go through every newspaper online that I subscribe to worldwide. It's not unusual for me to print 300 to 500 pages of news each and every day. And while it's great to talk about things that we might all believe in, free markets, less government, less stupid regulation, if nothing else, the fact of the matter is that's not what the public is reading today. Day after day, I read story after story about income inequality in America. I read a story this week that fully 35% of all Americans today now have some form of debt in collection, that real wages against inflation have fallen since 2000. And it's just been nonstop news. I read about all of our vets getting out of the service and not finding employment and so on and so forth. I don't know that anybody is selling a free market story to America anymore. Not like we used to. We used to believe in things like Horatio Alger. And I was amazed that more dealers aren't affiliated with this organization because, if nothing else, the ideals are the same as they believe as the pragmatic businessmen and women. I started in the car business 41 years and 41 pounds ago, 1973. I was a 20-year-old kid. I'd been, believe it or not, in insurance and done fairly well at it. I was transferred to our Houston office, and I was immediately fired. Because I was 20, I didn't have a lot of money in the bank, and the move to Houston pretty well wiped me out. And on the day I got fired, I went home, and my 19-year-old wife told me, by the way, I'm pregnant. On that day, I do not know if I had $5 in my checking account or I was $5 overdrawn, but it was in that $10 range. A couple days later, a guy that lived in the same apartment complex off the Katy Freeway came by and he told me he wanted to sell me a car. I had a new 73 Olds Cutlass, and he was such a squirrel. He was wearing polyester, the proverbial polyester, gray and green houndstooth coat. And I asked him, what did you make selling cars last month? Keep in mind, this was 1973, $5,500 in his first month in the car business. I asked him if they had an opening. And so I'm a 20-year-old kid, no money in the bank, got a car payment due, rent due, got into the car business at Sam White Oldsmobile. In my first week, I sold 7 cars and resolved all of my financial problems. The second week, the Arabs embargoed the oil. And at the time, an Oldsmobile Tornado only got 5.9 miles to the gallon. Now, for the rest of America, they went into a pretty serious recession with the first energy crisis, but this was Houston, Texas. The showroom did not have anybody walk on it for a week. And then guess what? The price of oil went up to $12 a barrel, and oil people were coming in left and right. While America was suffering, this is another part of that great Texas story we love to tell. At Sam White Oldsmobile, we sold 5,200 Oldsmobiles that year, when car sales fell to under 9 million nationally. David McDavid Oldsmobile, which was closer to the refineries over in Pasadena, outsold us. But the reason I brought up the story is this. I have AD, I have attention deficit disorder really badly. I had it all the way through school when no one knew what it was. It is impossible for me to pay attention to something I don't care about. The odds of me, even though my father was an Air Force officer, going off to college and doing something traditional was out of the question. And yet I got into the automobile industry, and I found out I was good at it. 4 years later, my wife was driving a Mercedes-Benz. I was general manager of a Buick store in Dallas, and I've been to General Motors Institute, where I was trained to be a dealer. I understand it was my personal responsibility and my personal drive that made it happen. What most people don't understand is every dealer I ever worked for said, "Kid, I think you've got what it takes. I'm going to help you get there." And that's the real free market story. It still works like that today. Again, I'm reading in the papers all the time about all of our vets that can't find work. And yet Toyota, just yesterday here in Dallas-Fort Worth, held a jobs fair because they don't have enough service advisors for the 25 dealerships in North Texas. They don't have enough mechanics. Yesterday, General Motors and Raytheon got together to announce that they need to put on a program nationally to train our vets to become technicians at dealerships. In fact, the NADA will tell you, even as we speak, car dealers across America are in need of 30 to 50,000 people in their service departments, parts departments, and on the service drive. Those are jobs that cannot be outsourced. And while we all admire that Walmart hired 40,000 vets last year, they hired them for about $12 an hour. Veterans who learn a skill like a job dealership provides back in the service department may make 50, 60, or 70,000 a year. And these are the stories that never get out anymore. We're so busy in America discussing how income inequality is out of control, how we, last month in our employment report that was so great, we lost more full-time jobs, and yet the job employment numbers went out because of part-time jobs. And then we talk about wages being frozen or going backwards. I'm in the radio business. It's been consolidated. I've been watching people lose their jobs in that industry for a decade. I'm in the newspaper business. More people worldwide are reading more newspapers today, and there's fewer people employed, and nobody's making any money at it. So what free market story are you selling to the public to get behind your ideals? I can name dealership after dealership in Dallas-Fort Worth. You don't have to have even a high school education to get in the car business if you want to be somebody. The wealthiest, most respected luxury car dealer in Fort Worth, Texas, did not even graduate high school. He doesn't even have a GED. The Honda dealership closest to us, the general manager, he came from Boston, Massachusetts, where he worked a construction crew. Don Huffines, I think he's in the crowd, his brother owns dealerships here in the Metroplex. His general manager at his Hyundai store, one of the biggest Hyundai dealerships in America, was a waiter not that many years ago. Well, it's great to talk about legislation, and it's distracting to read all the media about the haves and have-nots in America. What I have not seen in the last 10 years are tales of average people with desire and movement in their life getting ahead. No car dealer in America earns 440 times the wages of the average person inside its dealership. It is the proverbial America that we knew decades ago. And so I came here today looking at all the things that you have proposed in the past, what you've got accomplished, but I'm seeing America possibly from a different angle than y'all, because I see it from the view of the media, through the emails I get, through the people I talk to on the radio show. And I think if anybody wants a group to get behind them and what they believe in, you've got to have a story to tell. Car dealerships in America, as of last month, employ 1 million Americans. That's 1 out of every 145 working adults. It's above average pay. Dealers are happy to give it out. You don't have to have a high school degree, as I said. You don't have to have a college degree. You only have to have integrity, desire, and actually like other people. And it's a pretty easy industry to start at the bottom and end up at the top. By the way, just so you'll know, everybody who's running a dealership is in the 1% of all Americans today. And so I came here today to tell you that once I was a 20-year-old kid that had absolutely nothing going for him, except I honestly believed you could get ahead in America, and when I had to get ahead because I had a pregnant wife and no money, I did it. It's amazing what responsibility will do. But I am stunned that there aren't more dealers affiliated with your group, because they have the ultimate story to tell everyone. We take people who just want to get ahead, and we let them and we help them. And nobody's telling that story, and from a media viewpoint, I'm sorry. But I'm not hearing any stories like that in America anymore, unless if you're Kim Kardashian and you came up with an app for an iPhone and 80 million people downloaded it. That's really not the pinnacle of success to me for the average person. And so I came up here to speak for the car dealers. I came up to speak for the people that are employing 1 out of every 145 working adults and say the free market system is still working in America. And if that's what you believe in, then somebody's got to tell that story. Because for too many Americans, they're not sure the free market system works anymore. Everybody needs champions. We have them here in America. We just don't give them credit enough. Thank you.